Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 97 of Podcast of Five Rings, your source of enlightenment in the realm of video games, tabletop, anime, film, and tech. Each episode of Podcast of Five Rings releases Monday mornings on iTunes and Soundcloud, and Topic by Topic day by day on YouTube, with the full video releasing on Friday. To catch updates about the podcast or for other news, give us a follow on your social media platform of choice, listed in the description below. I am your host, GM, and overseer of Podcast of Five Rings, Obsidian. Joined tonight by, you guys introduce yourselves. I'm tired.
Hi. Tetsuo cannot believe we're at 97 episodes.
I know.
Hi, my name is Meta, and I'm a Dark Fortune duelist.
Hi, Meta.
Hi, Meta.
I'm really glad to be part of this group.
What are you struggling with, Meta-san?
I'm struggling with not having enough duelists.
What typos?
My affliction for typos is spread to myself.
I keep building for duels, and they never happen. My wife has left me for it. She's taken the kids. She won't return me.
Just so you know, Meta, duels are actually a legend, a mythological thing. They don't actually
exist. Yeah,
like Nomura
like Nomura or
the
heavens.
heavens
Don't exist.
No, apparently the heavens exist, but like they're pretty ambiguous on whether they actually want like Rokugan to live or die.
Then they're like ninja. People think they exist, but they totally don't.
Yeah,
they totally don't.
Just don't look behind you, but they totally don't.
Where's Mao at? He didn't say anything.
I'm right here.
I didn't even insult you today.
Meow, that's a way to give yourself an entrance.
I was really hoping he was just going to say anything.
People were talking. I didn't want to talk over anyone.
He was being perfectly polite.
Can I change you to a paragon of etiquette?
No.
Instead of a resident wild card.
The moment you do that, he will go full wild card on you.
D9.
Silence after that. Good God, people.
The D9.
The podcast literally just becomes an hour and a half of Mal talking uninterrupted. No breaths.
That's not gonna happen.
Speedrun him out.
Yeah.
Speedrun.
So, yesterday was Christmas. Did you guys have a good Christmas?
Oh, yeah.
Whatever.
Dude, my Christmas totally sucked. The first thing happened that I got presents in the morning. Really hated that. And then we had to get food, and that was terrible. So it was just all around an awful Christmas.
I'm finishing off the last of the leftovers.
It could have been worse. You guys could have had to work.
Yeah, that was my
True.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Did you get paid time and a half at least, Mel?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice because we get holiday pay, but if you work holiday, it becomes time and a half.
Yeah.
But Mao got like twice as much as I did on that.
Yeah, I mean, I did a full 8 hours.
Yeah.
Well.
And then I went to my mom's, and that was nice. We had steak, and she gave me an entirely uncooked ham. Because there were only two of us, and she didn't want to cook an entire ham.
Was it at least processed, or did you have to feed it on your way home?
What?
I was making a joke about a pig, and apparently my jokes are falling on flat ears.
I got it. I was waiting on Mal to react.
I got it, but it wasn't good, so...
It's not that, Tats. It's just that I'm totally zoning you out right now.
You know what, Meta? I have to... Right now, I need to tell you, right now, because of that, I appreciate you being honest with me. That fills my heart.
It's it's the tenet of Bushido that a lot of people, really don't give a lot of love for, but that's the one I'm going to follow tonight. And I'll be honest with all of you. I just don't like any of you. I only do this because I have
Cattiness.
You just have a lot of feelings about things and want a place to discuss them. You don't really care about them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My true holiday gift was the realization that Tets is basically Hughes from Full Metal Alchemist.
I talk about my daughter how often when I'm on here, and just now you're realizing that I'm totally full blown going maze on my daughter.
Yeah, well, I just didn't realize it. It went over my head. till I got to see a lot of your holiday pictures and stuff. So, yeah.
Luckily, we do have a coworker who she herself like loves baby pictures. So like I feel bad for Mao because whenever we go into the office, like I'm talking with her a good portion of the day about my daughter and the random little shit that really doesn't make a big difference in the grand scheme of things. And it's because it's adorable to us, and I can just feel Mal rolling his eyes behind me.
I can just put in headphones and listen to something else.
Exactly.
How could you be so heartless, Mal? How?
Oh.
Well, all right.
No, I feel like Mace Hughes is like the epitome of what to aspire to as a dad, even to the point of killing your not wife to make sure that you protect your family, even if you die while doing so, and not actually kill her. Wait, no, never mind. This is not where
This is getting really dark territory, man.
Which version of Hughes, though? The actual one or the old one? The canon is split. It's breaking my head. Damn you, Full Metal Alchemist.
To be fair, he does this in both of the things.
Yeah, I know.
Actually, I got a real question here. Is that has there ever been another manga or anime series that has gotten like essentially two animes done on it? One like with its own ending, and then one that actually faithfully follows the.
Fruits Basket is currently on.
Fruits Basket.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
sometimes it happens
ongoing.
Sometimes it'll happen with movies, but
Hellsing
not TV
also
series.
got it because you had Hellsing and Hellsing Ultimate.
Oh, you're right, Hellsing Ultimate. Yeah, those are like I think it's super rare to get that kind of opportunity for.
Yeah. But I mean, like to be fair to it, right? Like how I feel like part of it is how badly does the anime differ. Like in the case of Hellsing, it's awful. The anime for the original one, when they diverge, is just bad. Period.
I don't think it's gonna be as much of an issue nowadays, though, because
that's fair.
They seem to do seasons now. They actually do seasons instead of like let's just pump out as much of the anime as we can.
Yeah, long-running shonen adaptations are becoming a thing of the past. They're kind of transitioning away from that.
Yeah, which is actually a good practice. The only problem is it causes the issue of like there's no certainty that they're going to pick it up for another season.
Exactly. But yeah, I think it's more refreshing to like take a break from it and come back. You get more excited. At least that's how it is for me. Speaking of, I still need to watch season 4 of My Hero Academia.
Yeah.
Well, they did start that back up.
Yeah, it's been running a few weeks now.
Ooh, I gotta go watch it.
This is a good part.
Yeah, I think it's almost completely finished. I think it's like I saw like 8.
Yeah, there's like a few. There's only like 3 or 4 episodes left.
Yeah. Wow. Don't they normally do like
12 probably?
A season?
12 or 13 is a season in Japan.
Yeah, but I meant like, don't they like? Maybe I'm.
They used to. They would do like double course basically.
My Hero Academia, didn't they have generally like freaking 20-something episodes?
I think the first season was, and then they started doing 12 or 13.
Okay, maybe I'm okay.
What is it? Core? Is that
Yeah.
Sometimes you can get one season to be multiple cores, but a lot of the times it'll be just one, which is the 12 or 13 episodes.
Yeah, 12 or 13. But if it goes across multiple, like just 20, which obviously isn't a multiple of 12 or 13, makes sense just because of numbers, I guess.
Probably just the way it turns out.
Season 1 is only 13 episodes.
Okay, then I don't know.
Did you watch through season 1 and season 2 at one go?
That might have been it. I might have just burned through season 1 and season 2 and never realized it. That's got to be it because I remember seeing it. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of episodes for one season they put out.
Yeah.
But it might have just been season 1 and season 2, and I just wasn't.
Season 2 is 25 episodes.
There you go.
There it is.
That's why I was like, I'm not insane.
All right.
And
Dang
3.
It, there goes my full.
3 is as well, actually.
There you go. Okay, then I'm not crazy about it.
Oh well.
So 4, I have no idea how many episodes 4 is going to be.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Doesn't say.
I'd imagine 12 because they're catching up fairly quickly to the manga.
Yeah.
They're not that far behind it, but anyways. So yeah, why don't we get into our thingy, discussion-y, what's that word? A topic. Yeah, it's the year end. And Mal want to talk about some decade stuff too, so we'll work some of that in as well. So yeah, what do we want to start with? What do you guys want to talk about first? What's some of the favorites? You want to start with games? All right, we'll do video games.
I mean, video games is going to be the bulk.
Yeah.
You want to just start with it?
Yep. So who wants to go first and talk about some of your favorite stuff?
I don't want to talk about this talking anymore. Let's do a different topic.
All right, our favorite tops of tea for 2019.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about this winter spice from Twinings that I have recently fallen in love with because it makes an amazing hot toddy.
I'm not gonna lie to you, dude. I'm gonna have to ask you to push aside for this cherry chocolate walnut that I've got. It is phenomenal.
Oh, did you add any of the smoked lapchong tea to it?
You, of course, and extract of green tea because that's in everything now. Even if I have black tea, I have extract of green tea.
Mine.
I love how Meta and I are
sweet.
actually being serious about our tea practices.
Mal,
Mine
sweet tea. Yeah, good boy.
It's the only tea I drink. It's my tea of the year. It's my tea of the decade. It's my tea of my life.
Yep. Orange spots, baby.
Yeah.
Something tea bags?
Yeah.
Trying to bring it back to video games.
Lipton. All right.
Lipton, which is rhymes with gaming.
Yep.
It doesn't, but that's the transition now.
Tell us about some of your favorite games, Meta. I'll just pick you since no one wanted to volunteer.
Did you say me?
Yeah, you go first.
Come on, man.
Take the initiative, Crane.
I mean,
Man, I hate this. I got called on class in the middle of this. Now
did.
I got caught
mine
with
is
the pants.
Sekiro. My game.
Mal steals initiative.
Steals it.
Yep, that's my game of the year. It's what I love to
blame
play
you.
the most, I believe.
It's a really good game.
Yeah, I love. I mean, I love everything From Software does, and I love this one. I mean, it wasn't my favorite of theirs. Like,
Was it Bloodborne that's your favorite?
yeah,
Yeah,
basically.
Okay. I was just actually about to ask you, like, how would you compare it to Bloodborne, though?
Yeah. I mean, Sekiro doesn't have as much replayability. It does have the multiple endings, which is cool, but
Yeah.
the lack of making different builds kind of sets it apart.
I think the other thing I also kind of feel a bit, maybe this is just the FromSoft method, because this truly is like the first FromSoft game that I've played, but I kind of feel like once you've played through the game, the only thing you're really getting different is the ending. Everything else kind of from like point A to point B is just, the same.
I mean, other FromSoft, the big replayability of other FromSoft games comes from weapon type and or if you're using magic or whatever.
Yeah.
And armor type. Yeah, because every weapon has a different moveset. And then just different you build your stats differently for like magic or whatever, and if your armor weight will affect your rolls and stuff.
Okay, see, that makes a lot more sense, because like I was playing Sekiro and I'm like, well, this is neat. I've got all my stuff and I'm running through the second game, and I'm like, I'm just gonna get a different ending. Everything else plays the same.
Yeah. I mean,
it's not a bad thing. Just
yeah, it's a game I'll play way less frequently, but I'll probably end up playing it in another year or two, because the combat, I love the combat.
Yeah, it's very fun to play.
Yeah,
it's hard to deny it. Yeah.
My favorite
Kingdom Hearts
part.
3 was a big. Oh, what?
I was just gonna say my favorite part was the grappling hook.
Oh yeah, that added a lot of fun for that. Yeah, that really opened up what they could do with level design too. It was pretty cool. And then Kingdom Hearts 3 was a big one for me, though also kind of a disappointment. It's with the DLC that's coming out next month. If it had been in the base game, it may have been my game of the year. Like if it is actually like basically taking all the feedback that people gave and fixing it. Like
adding some of the more
the final mix version,
boss
basically
battles. Yeah, it's basically
being able to
final
play
mix.
as different people and.
Yep. It was pretty satisfying for me just because it was the end of that narrative arc. Like the games are like my high school years. It's what it takes me back to.
No other games series makes me feel the way Kingdom Hearts does. So it definitely holds a special part in my.
Yeah. It's on my honorable mentions list.
I haven't even gotten the game yet. Still, I don't know. I think I'm done with it. I'm in the opposite. I'm on a very, very different boat on a very, very different fucking continent.
Well, you're not a man bound by nostalgia necessarily.
I'm really not bound by nostalgia. Like if it's got to remain good for me to like care. That's really true.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's bad.
I don't think it's bad by any means. There's definitely people that love it. It's clearly not a bad game. I think there's definitely some disappointment with people on it.
Oh yeah,
from what I read.
Yeah, mostly the combat.
But I don't know. Like I think I was just done with it. Like I enjoyed the shit out of the first one. I enjoyed the shit out of the second one. I didn't really play the side games. I was kind of hoping for like a main game, and then it never came.
Yeah.
And then I grew up, and then I decided that I'm way too far behind, and I just don't care enough. Yeah, it kind of sucks.
Yeah, I lost my train of thought. I had something I was going to say about Kingdom Hearts 3, and I lost it.
I mean, I started Kingdom Hearts for the first time this year. Does that count?
How far did you get?
He didn't get off the island.
Sign. Yeah, that's scary
something might have happened to Tetsuo's computer.
What?
He died.
Oh, I said, how far did you get? And we just...
Oh, I didn't
You
hear
just
you
went
say
quiet.
anything. Sorry. I got to the point I got to, like, it gave you options where to go, and I think I had done, like, Tarzan and Aladdin, and I started in on Little Mermaid, I think.
Oh, the wall, Little Mermaid.
I think that's where I'm
It's
at.
It's the worst world in the whole series, in my opinion.
You're saying the wall, and I have no idea what you're talking about, which makes me think, yes, Little Mermaid is where I'm at.
Yeah, it's the most frustrating level, in my opinion. Just because
I
it
got
has janky
lost
controls.
there so much.
No, I was gonna say though, Kingdom Hearts 3 did have like the most hype moments for me in the series. Especially the whole Ozora thing. Like, I literally lost my shit when I saw that, just because of the whole Final Fantasy 15.
Well,
like,
we're getting more, so...
Yep. He's in the thing, and he's like talking to Sora and stuff, so here we go.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Is there anything else? Oh, Fire Emblem. That was probably my other big game of the year.
Yeah, that's my runner-up.
Yep.
3 houses?
Yep.
So good.
Wait, with the love that game's gone, I don't blame it.
I still want to go back and replay the other 2 routes I haven't done yet. I'll get to it eventually.
I really should probably pick up that game and play it. This is gonna end up being like another situation is akin to the Square Enix game where you had all the different routes, Octopath Traveler.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This is gonna be a situation where I know I want to go play the game. I just don't have time to go play it yet.
Octopath is so good.
It's really frustrating.
Yeah, this is this one even more so. It has more replayability factor than Octopath for sure, but you're also replaying like 40 or 50 hours of a game. So like, especially if you try like do everything and collect stuff and use all your days.
I definitely got burnt out doing the second playthrough.
Yeah, that's how it was for me too. So it's like I want to take a little break, and I just haven't had like the desire to come back to it yet. But I still do want to go back to it eventually, and I will eventually because it is like easily my favorite Fire Emblem game. I think it's the best one they've done.
Definitely. It's definitely the best one they've ever done.
So it's great. I can't recommend that one enough if you like turn-based strategy or have ever liked the Fire Emblem.
Oh boy.
Can I say biggest flop of the year?
What is it?
Anthem. Which is immediately like $5 everywhere. It was the beginning of the year, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that game flopped hard.
I had so much hope for the game. I really did, because it had billed itself as something like Destiny. I was unhappy with Destiny 2. I was really hoping it was going to be good. And like
Surprise.
I didn't.
They EA.
Yeah, that was not a. That was.
I couldn't even pick it up based off of what I was hearing. Like usually, I'm like, oh, people like are shitting on it, but I should test for myself. Like it was to the point where I was like, nah, there's not even a reason for me to buy it at $5.
Yeah.
I think from because we played through the beta of it and whatnot, and I think that was a pretty telling experience too.
Yep. I mean, it was polished enough where we could note. I still think the biggest issue that I have is I could not for the life of me understand why the large mechs just they didn't have shields. It was just health. I always felt like as a large mech, I was standing behind walls for way too much cover in hopes of like staying alive. It felt really weird.
I remember that being.
It'd been cool to give them like a plasma shield that they can like shoot through, but it has like hit points. So they can just stand behind it. Maybe that would have been something cool.
I don't know. Like I can get behind that just because I guess like Warframe does something similar. Like right, like there's always like the one class that has a lot of health but no shields, or a lot of shields but next to no health. So
I think the only problem is though is that like that's like one frame out of like tons of frames.
right, yeah.
But this is like one out of 3 specific styles.
And usually when you have that, you have the mobility to try to get out of the way. This thing didn't. You were a plotting tank that had no shields. You were just cannon fodder. You just were. I
remember this being just the worst experience. It felt very weird. It actually felt like I should probably just play like one of the lighter classes, because at least then I could dip behind cover, let my shields regenerate, and then get back into the fighting.
Yeah.
But I remember that was the big issue. But yeah, that game had terrible load times. It had almost nothing to do. Even the RNG system on it was just terrible from what I was being read. I mean, there was papers. There's nothing really to say about it. People actually wrote like whole papers on it and shit. They wrote up like large interviews about why it failed and whatnot. It's all over the internet. Go read it.
Yeah. So what was your favorite game in Meta?
My favorite game?
Unless Mal had something else you wanted to say.
I was just thinking if there's anything else that even comes close to Anthem.
Flop wise,
nothing.
Not that I can think of.
I don't know. I don't think there's anything I can think of that really flopped hard.
Not that at least that we were looking for.
Yeah. I don't know. Like generally, I don't even generally look at flops just because I kind of already know a game that's not going to really do well in my eyes, and it doesn't matter if it does well with the public or not anymore.
There's a WWE game. The latest WWE game was really terribly received.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Those usually are pretty well received.
Well, generally they're like the same thing, but this one was just like, it wasn't even as good a quality as last year's. It was just worse in like every way.
It's like, how did you mess it up? It's one of those
yearly sports games, and it just went backwards in every aspect. Like Sony's like, yeah, we will refund we will refund you for this game, like no questions asked, and it's bad when someone like Sony or Microsoft is doing that.
Huh.
Yeah.
What other games?
I know one Meta.
Did No Man's Sky come out this year?
No, that was a year or two ago.
That was like 2017.
But yeah, I don't think anything else really comes
Team
close.
Sonic Racing. There you go.
I think people actually like that game.
What about Jump Force?
People actually play that too, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Man.
I mean, if we're going off of just people play it, like...
I was going to say, people play it.
Well, I'm saying a big name FGC, like big names play it.
Bubsy Paws on Fire.
That was mine, damn it! You stole my meme. I was gonna wait till last. Paws on Fire, Game of the Year, 2019. They're gonna just keep putting out a Bubsy game every year, and I'll keep buying.
I really momentarily thought about posting that in our chat and calling Obs out on that being his game. So that's dead.
I've done it like 2 times in a row, saying that a Bubsy game is my favorite of the year.
What about the spiritual successor to Front Mission, Left Alive?
Oh, right. That game was awful. It was nothing like Frontline.
I forgot that game existed.
God.
Yeah.
Yes, because I heard it sucked, and then the world moved on. Like, it wasn't even like bad enough to like live in like the public eye. Like, it just quietly drifted off into mediocrity.
Yeah, dude. I remember kind of like, this game looks interesting, but at the same time, there's nothing going on for it. It feels really weird that this is a stealth game. Why not just give me Front Mission? I loved that shit.
I just want to shoot people in a mech.
It's just give me that.
I never did play Front Mission. That's a game series I really need to get.
It's good. It's a good game.
Another one of my honorable mentions that I'm sure is on Meta's list is Shadowbringers.
Yes, that would definitely be a game on my list. That's absolutely a good game.
Probably the best story experience I had of the year.
Yeah, Shadowbringers definitely sold it for me.
I got myself a Christmas present in the form of a new computer, so I could probably play Final Fantasy 14 now.
Oh,
Dude.
I would absolutely recommend it. Even if you don't play anything else, just getting to Shadowbringer storyline is
Yeah,
it's very good.
It's like the filet mignon of storytelling.
Yeah, it's the best MMO story.
So,
Yeah.
overly cost, not as good as people bill it out to be, and only expensive because it's rare.
And you also get to play. You also get to play through Heavensward too, which is also amazing.
Now, do I try and continue from my old character or start over again?
Depends on how far you got, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's not. I'll say it right now. Both Stormblood and the
Realm Reborn.
Realm Reborn storylines are not super strong.
Realm Reborn picks up towards the end.
Yeah, it really heats up towards the end, but like for the most of it, it's kind of your rote storytelling.
Yeah. The villain's cool in Stormblood, but you have to spend time going between like two different stories, basically.
Apparently, though, people love the steps, so that's at least have something.
That part's pretty good.
I never noticed it. The steps never like really interested me, but at least I wasn't terrible with it.
The music, Mao, or meta.
Music. Yeah.
And they were separated into clans.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I know at least two others on Meta's list.
What are they?
Well, there's Resident Evil 5.
Or
3. Or 2.
2. You don't even know.
Nope.
Like, I think that game
the other one. The other game that on the list is a 5.
Yeah, absolutely. Resident Evil 2. That is a game I would go back to and play right now. I enjoyed the crap out of that game. I honestly, that is probably one of the best scary games I've played in a very long time.
It was very entertaining to watch.
I think the only other scary game that would truly gripped me, and I didn't even play that one. I didn't want to buy the game. I'm not that big into it, but I wanted to see it. Was Alien when the new one that came out.
Alien Isolation.
Yes, Alien Isolation. That game was super scary as well.
I played that game a few years back, and like I started out on the whole. So for those that know, like you can turn it on so any sounds you make, your controller picks up, and the alien will react to. And I started out with that. My wife thought it would be funny to make sounds in the kitchen while I played the game, so I had to turn that off.
Yeah, I guess that wouldn't work too well now if you had with the little one either.
You're a dead man. Just give up your child and make it for yourself.
We'll get back to aliens in the tabletop section. I have something to contribute there on that end.
There's but definitely Resident Evil 2. That would be definitely a game I freaking love. And I'm so glad that they've already like announced Resident Evil 3 coming out because oh man, there's so much you can do.
Yeah, they were quick to jump on that.
They were.
Capcom's like, people are liking our games. We got to keep going.
It's almost like people kind of like certain aspects of a game, and all they really want is.
They're also just amazing remakes.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is the remake is solid. You're absolutely right. It's they took everything that you could possibly want about the game, and they're just like, let's just put it in a different 3D environment with over-the-shoulder controllers instead.
Yeah,
let's just do that.
Yeah,
it was great.
Make it a little bit less archaic gameplay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Those older REs are kind of hard to go back and play for me personally.
They're a little bit hard too. It definitely is like a creature of its time, hands down.
They were really fun back then, but
yeah. What was the other one, Mal? What's the other one you got?
Devil May Cry 5.
Yeah, I like that game a lot.
Yeah, you played through it a lot too.
Want to like that the way you word that.
Well, here's the thing about Devil May Cry 5 that I love the game. I'm glad that it's back.
Right.
But
it was a fun experience.
It was a fun experience. But here's the thing. And this is kind of why I'm just a little bit disappointed in a bit, because there's a reason why every time you see the bloody joke, like starring Dante from the Devil May Cry series, and what we keep seeing, like Devil May Cry, I mean, it just happened recently. Devil May Cry 3 was getting released for the Switch. There's a reason, because Devil May Cry 3 was damn good. It not only had great gameplay, but the storyline. And if you are worth any salt of being able to tell a good basis skeletal frame for storytelling, it's playing DMC3, because DMC3, for all its cheesiness and its silliness that it can be, still followed a very basic format of storytelling. And I believe that is the hero's journey. I think it's either the hero's journey or a different type, but either case, it is
probably the hero's journey.
Probably the hero's journey. But the story is not just about like, I'm going to go punch my brother in the face because he's a total dick. And also I'm going to do cool stunts and fuck the world and I'm awesome. It's not just that. It is also a story about coming to accept, the legacy that your family has left behind, your place from that legacy, and even kind of recognizing what is still left behind from a world that these characters kind of discarded. They change. They all do. They all develop in that story. And Devil May Cry 5 definitely tries to tell a good story on like that, but that's not really the case. It's more of a love note than it is an actual great story.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And don't be wrong, Devil May Cry 5 is great. It's a great game. Go buy it if you haven't. It is absolutely worth your money. But if I'm comparing them and I'm truly dissecting what those games are, it's just a little disappointing because I was really looking forward to like the true Devil May Cry 5 experience, kind of taking up the mantle from what 3 did. And from Nero's character, it definitely changes a bit. And from even Virgil, for what short amount of time you have, spoiler alert, for the time you have for him, he does change a little bit when he knows that.
Yeah, I'm curious to see.
Here's a son.
I'm curious to see 6. The how they all interact with each other.
I really want to see 6, and I mean I know you can want to continue the story on, but you can't get rid of Dante and Virgil. It's not legal in any country on this planet. It's the best way to put it. It's a really bad move. It's just there's no matter how much you want to hand those reins off, you got to give people what they came for, and that's Dante. He's
Dante wielding a motorcycle.
Yeah,
absolutely. He's already done it once. Let's give him motorcycle nunchucks.
Dancing like Michael Jackson.
Oh yeah, that was really good.
That was a
when he got the hat.
Yeah, that was perfect. Actually, you know what the best part about that was? Ruben Langdon is both the voice actor for Dante as well as motion capture artist. In fact, almost all of the voice actors are their motion captors. Yeah.
Even though it's a Japanese-based game.
Exactly. It's great. So one of the funny things he was telling, you actually made mention about this story, is that he was being pulled in when they were creating it and they were creating the game and whatnot for 5. Hideki pulled him aside and he's like, by the way, we've got this one scene where he's gonna do like Dante's gonna do like this dancing kind of like Michael Jackson, and we want you to do it. And he was like, haha, okay. And he's like, all right, so cool. We'll get that done with you, and we'll get that scene. It's gonna be coming up in a few days. And he's like, everyone's like, oh wait, he's actually serious about this. He's like, so Ruben doesn't want to be rude. He doesn't want to say, I don't think I can do this, because they have like, whatnot, like, they believe in him and whatnot, but he's like, it's not going to be good. He can't dance. So they get up to the day and he gets up to the day and whatnot. And he's like, okay, I guess I'm ready to dance. He's like, what do you mean you're dancing? Don't worry about it. We already hired a professional from, he got all prepped and everything. He's got finally in the mindset. And he's like, don't worry about it. We actually got a professional for it.
Nice.
So
that was mean to him. But yeah, DMC5 is a great game. I absolutely love it. I don't want to make it sound like I think it's like, it's not as good as 3. You should just go buy 3 instead. But DMC5, you should buy both of them on your Switch right now. But absolutely hands down 5. I was looking for more 3, and I got 5. I don't regret it. I really hope 6 does something better.
It is divisible by 3.
That is true. It's technically not, but it's not a prime number.
It can be, so divisible by 3 either means it's going to be good like 3, or it's going to be horrible.
Well, it's going to be like 2 and 3.
Yes.
So
what is it? No, 2. All the even number games are bad. So 6. That means 6 has got to be the terrible one. 6 is going to go like, they're going to go on like
they're going to like somehow merge the other DMC game into it.
No. No.
Oh god, yeah, that's right. That's what they do actually.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore if that happens. I was going to say I think for the year that's pretty much it. I don't think there's anything else in the year that I would constitute as like really standing out. Those are the games, man. Beyond what you said for Sekiro and whatnot, because Sekiro.
Yeah. Did our patient gamer have anything from this year?
I don't know.
Is that me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a subreddit, Patient Gamers, where it's just people who wait till games get cheap to play them.
I was thinking about that. Most of the games that I think are close to me playing them when they released, I played early on, which makes me think they actually released in 2018. Nothing like fully stuck with me, to be perfectly honest, with the exception of a game I absolutely know came out in 2018 because I think no, I didn't, but I wanted to play it in 2018 was God of War, the PS4 game, because so obviously it's the story of Kratos becoming learning how to deal with his rage, right? Like they personified Kratos so much more in this game, right? Like he's so much more of a character you can relate to, right? And just I don't know, like there was so much more to him than just
say it, Tats. It's because you became a dad. It's okay.
Well,
Dude,
no. Hold on.
Actually,
build up to my point, damn it. But yes, you're right.
Whole second though, but like, I mean, I really did. I have to agree with you. I really related more. I keep calling everybody that I meet boy now, and I finally there's a character that I could really reflect that in me in the relationship I have with people in life.
but I mean, right? Like before, it was all just this like this is an excuse to let you have a thing so you can press buttons and kill things. In God of War PS4, they decided to let him actually be like a person. But what really drove it home for me really was in February, if you didn't know, I had a daughter. And the first game I started playing after she was born was the Persona 5 dancing game. But the game after that, the actual game I started playing when she was born was God of War 4. And it was, I don't know, like, it was interesting to me, like, playing this game of this character who, like, you never thought of as a father to suddenly, even though his son was, however old Atreus is supposed to be in the game, he's, like, really starting to dive into what it means to be a good and true father. And it was really interesting for me to play that with my newborn daughter in a rocker right next to me, and it really stuck with me for 2019. Like to the point where, because I had gotten it, I used to do GameFly, so I'd gotten it for rental, and to the point where my wife actually bought it for me for Christmas this year because I wanted to have a copy of the game, just because it meant that much to me. Like I know how super silly that sounds, but of 2019,
that was why the developer guy I think he was making it while he had his first kid, so that's why a lot of that feeling like went into the game.
Yeah, and it's not. It doesn't just feel superficial. It really does feel like they were like, okay, this is the feeling we're gonna go for. How there are very small things that you can see Kratos learning that I don't know that I would have picked up on a year ago. But because I had my daughter, I suddenly was picking up on it. Like, it was like, oh, these very, very tiny things. And I don't know that I could even name them to you at the moment. They were that small. But it really stuck to me. So for 2019, the game of the year for me personally was God of War. Even though it was a 2018, I know it was a 2018 game, but the timing at which I played it, again, it was GameFly. GameFly can sort of be random at times. Like, it wasn't in my top 5 games to play from GameFly, just the way they... So for those that don't know, GameFly, the way that they work, they kind of send you whatever. It's like Netflix used to be when you got discs. So they send you the immediately available...
You still can do that with Netflix.
Do they?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that. So, but essentially, you make your list of games, and then whenever you return a game, they say, okay, they look at your number 1. Is that available? Do they have a disc of it? No. Number 2, 3, 4. They go through until they find a disc that they have available. And God of War was like number 7 or 8. It wasn't even on my top 5, and it was interesting how it just happened to come at that moment for me. And it just, I don't know, it had a lot of, like, if it came in like March or April, I don't know that it would have had the same impact that it did, because it came the week that my daughter was born.
It's very fortuitous timing there.
Yeah, like
fortuitous or planned.
And even if it didn't, let's be honest, God of War, is kind of a bit of a Tetsuo game. So it
not
really
as much as Horizon, but
not as much as but it never was going to be bad in my eyes. Let's go ahead and say that it caters
at least you
to
acknowledge
everything
your bias.
Yeah,
it's honesty right there. I gotta respect that.
Yeah, I know that it does the things that I want a game to do.
Yeah.
It has, just enough collecting things. It's a lot of hack and slash. There's a great story to it amongst all of that. And there's an end game that I can have fun playing with. And the bosses are appropriately badass. There's an epic feel to everything you do. But just the fact that there is this thread of fatherhood woven into everything really drove it home for me.
Well, my game of the year, the most obscure game of the year, outside of Bubsy Paws on Fire. Now, it's the end of the Sen no Kiseki series, obviously.
Right.
Of course. How can we not see this coming?
Sen no Kiseki, or Trails of Cold Steel 3 in America, it came to America in October, and it's a big sprawling game. Yeah, the third one. It's a big sprawling game series. Ever since Trails in the Sky, which I think came out in Japan 10 years ago. The way Falcom does these games is they normally release them in pairs of 2, where they'll be direct sequels to each other. So the first one...
The first one was a trilogy.
It was, but the third one doesn't really continue the story. It's more like a side game. It has a different protagonist. It's weird. Yeah. It's almost like a 2.5-ish kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which they're about to do again.
It gives you a lot of information.
Yeah. So, it does like backstory stuff to the world and some of the like players behind the scenes. So yeah, like the first 2 games, you follow this set of protagonists and this country on this large continent that's in this political conflict. Then the second series is the Al and Zero series, which never came out in America. They might be now because Falcom just announced that they were porting them to PS4. So it's more just like a publishing issue, I think, is why they never came over here.
For the fan translation to come out.
Exactly.
They just updated it. It's like going to be out in a month or 2, I think.
I have the fan translations of them, but I'm at this point I'm just going to wait and see. Probably I played a little bit of the first one. So and also the third series was Trails of Cold Steel. For the first time, the first 2 games tell basically a complete story, but usually after the 2 games of the story, they'll go on to different characters on a different part of the continent. Instead, they chose to focus on the same protagonist with a different set of PCs that the game focuses on around him, but it's mainly the same protagonist. And you play from the perspective of basically like the antagonistic country in the first 2 games, who's like this expansionist, like empirical power. Now you're like there and seeing like the empire's like inner turmoil and stuff. So yeah, they're like big political things, like lots of references to like lore. They're very lore dense. There's lots of stuff to do. They're super long games. Their anime is crap. They got like mechs and stuff in them. A bunch of other crazy stuff. Like really like party focused, character driven. Like lots of like any games that have like the life sim aspect where you go around and like you can romance some of the characters or like find out about some of like the NPCs that you would normally barely interact with in other games, and you like spend time with them and hang out with them, and like those are like the kind of games that I really like because of Persona and that kind of stuff. So that was obviously going to be like my game of the year. So much so I enjoyed the third one. It ended on such a cliffhanger that I had to import the Japanese 4th game and play through it as well. And I'm glad I did because it was a very satisfying ending to the series, and it's probably my favorite video game series of all time now.
Wow!
Just those games are so good. The way Falcom tells stories is wow. The world building so good. So I love those games, and they also announced basically a kind of like Trails in the Sky third. They're doing another like ancillary bridge game called Hajimari no Kiseki, which is going to It's going to involve some of the other characters from some of the old games, like a set of new protagonists. It's going to kind of bridge the gap towards the next like duology, essentially, if they even do a duology. That's just what I'm going to assume. So those are really good if you love JRPGs. I can't and like Persona style games. There's not as much of the life sim stuff in the first game and second game. The second game does break away from that more and tells a more linear story. The third game is a lot more like the first game, and the fourth game is a lot like the second game. So that's just kind of like the style they have.
Instead of doing day-to-day, you get like one day out of the month to do all the Persona stuff.
Exactly. It's more focused on the narrative.
Yeah, each month is a chapter. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, that's mine. They're some of my favorite games now. So
yeah.
All right. Any other games anyone else wanted to talk about? Because otherwise, you guys talked about every other game I had on my list.
Honestly, no, not for me. We kind of hit everything. Yeah. I mean, that's it, man.
For what it's worth, I was totally unprepared for this, and Mal told me it was for the decade, so I have a whole list. This is everything 2019 for me.
Yes. So I also, because the decade is ending, I wanted to hear some of your guys' games of the decade.
Persona 5.
Yes.
Neo.
Yeah. Neo.
Huh? Neo was a game I really liked.
Yeah. So I actually have a list of 10.
Oh God.
Yeah. My number one is Dark Souls.
Understandable.
It basically defined my decade of gaming.
I'm replaying that right now.
It came out in 2011. And then my number 2 is Persona 5 because no game on this list comes out after Persona 5, and I blame Persona 5. Came out in 2016.
For somebody who does not enjoy the turn-by-turn JRPG style of gaming, I friggin' love Persona 5 so much.
The style and characters are so good.
We've talked about it a lot. My number 3 is Bloodborne because that's my favorite from
Bloodborne's definitely my top 5.
And then number 4 is Final Fantasy X 10-2 HD Remaster. Because it's basic.
On which platform, Mal? Which platform?
I have it listed as 2013 for PS3 and 2015 for PS4 because I bought them both. And if they release it for PS5, it gets to be on my next decade's list.
This is like the weirdest list based on a technicality. Like, technically, he's
Mal is the most likely to find a loophole.
Yes.
This is like saying somebody can get into like doing like, you know, an Olympic sprint because they have 2 legs, but they're both broken, but that still allows them to register to attempt to get in. So, like, yeah, okay, sure, but
I mean, are you really surprised at the wild card?
I'm not.
I played it a lot during this decade. That specific version of the game, and it's really good. The most, so
not even surprised.
Mass Effect 2 and 3 are my 5 and 6. 2 has probably some of the best NPCs in all of gaming, or party members, and
that
3
tally
was big, probably the level of completion Obs got from playing Trails 4 was with me 3. And then 7 is Dishonored, the only non-RPG to make the list. I love the world building. I love the immersive sim genre, though not quite as much as RPGs. Number 8 is I just put on Pokemon Gen 5.
Yeah, Gen 5's really good. I came around on that gen a lot.
I do think it is the best mechanically. My favorite, if I were doing favorite games of all time, it would be probably Crystal, but I think Gen 5 is definitely just the best.
Gameplay-wise, it's solid. Yeah. The only problem I have with it's the Pokemon design.
I just like all the things, all the different things they tried without taking anything away.
Yeah. I think you could tell it's the one they had the most. I think we've said this before on the review for Sword and Shield. You could tell Gen 5 is just the when they cared the most about making a really good Pokemon game.
They targeted the older demographic with 5. It's your oldest player characters are in 5.
The presentation's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Like the different season effects and stuff. Ugh.
My 9 is Destiny, the first one, because I played a lot of that, and it was amazing. And I just am really saddened by 2. And
there's a lot to be said there.
Yep. And then Skyrim at 10. Also, so the start and end of my list are 2011 games. I played a lot of Skyrim. It's not even like close to being one of my favorite games. It just happens to be one that really like it defined this generation or this decade for me, though. Just like I played it a lot on I played it on the 360, and then I got it again on PC and modded the hell out of it. And it's given a lot of meme potential.
The memeiest.
Yeah. All the different releases it's had, and then the waking up meme that I believe Obs referenced just earlier today in a chat.
Yeah.
Not wrong.
On the pillow.
Can I just say, just to give you an example of like how far we've gone?
Mm-hmm.
Halo Reach came out in 2010.
Holy God.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
I
So
played
it's
the
actually
shit out of that.
in the decade list, bro.
Yeah, that's close. I don't know if it quite gets there for me, but it might.
Now it's
probably
re-released
my top
as well,
20.
hasn't it?
Yeah, for the Master Chief collection.
I think that actually might supplant some things on my list.
I was gonna say, I was
played
just
Halo Reach so much.
Yeah, I played it a lot as well.
Me and one of my friends just the weekend it came out. Me and him just co-opted the entire story in his basement.
Was that Cameron?
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, he was. So I don't think I nor Mao had the game, but our mutual friend had it, and we went. I mean, to be fair, at the time we went over to his house all the time.
We played a lot of multiplayer there.
Yeah, but we played so much Halo at his house, specifically Reach. Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's that. But I just wanted to like point out like that's how far a decade goes back because Halo Reach is like old now.
I mean, that's only a year after Skyrim and Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Before, I mean. But yeah. It's been a good a decade for games.
The decade has just been a very nice decade.
Many
Yeah.
good things, and I think it only speaks to the future because I think this decade was when we saw a lot of gaming come out of the negative assumptions about gamers. Kind of went away this decade, I think.
I mean, yeah, basically disappeared compared to previous.
Yeah, there was a stigma.
Like especially now, like everyone plays video games. Like,
right. And the stigma pretty much, I feel like this decade, the stigma disappeared. And because it did that, and while it did that, we got an explosion of good games because people were like, hey, gaming is cool. Gaming is not this horrible, degenerate thing to do. And it was such a good decade for gaming.
It's really interesting just to see how that's kind of slowly spilled more and more over into
like the biggest thing in high school or school in general is just like was Fortnite for a long time, and that just there's nothing like the closest thing when I was in high school was probably Halo. Like it got a lot of people were playing them, but it still like wasn't as big.
The some games I do want to kind of like call out just for the fact like whether I played them or not, I don't know, but some games that I just felt like really stuck out as games that took something and made something very special with what they had. I want to say the game The Walking Dead Season 1 from Telltale Games.
Oh yeah, that
exploded.
Like it basically made Telltale Games a thing.
Yeah. And for anybody who's actually played through that or actually done it, will know just like how good that was. That series, or at least the first season anyway. I don't know about I don't know what your thoughts are on the second season, but the first one, if nothing else, was phenomenal. Games like Stanley Parable. That came out, and that was not only an immensely meta game, but one that had many endings and wonderful narration.
Yeah, the narrator is just so good.
Phenomenal. Just phenomenal.
And on that note, just in general, indie games exploded this
Oh
decade.
yeah,
Mhm.
Like, there are
games-
so many games you can say were just amazing, and you could not play through all of them because there are so many.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Indie games just that has been a lot of my gaming.
Super Meat Boy is a perfect example of an indie game.
Oh
that
yeah,
Stardew
rocketed.
Valley.
Isaac.
Yeah, a lot of
That,
them.
there's a lot of games out there.
Game probably game of the decade, just like not
Don't
like
make me
my
choose.
game of the decade, but the actual game of the decade is probably Minecraft.
Yeah,
As
it's
far
hard
as people who
Yeah.
played it,
Minecraft
yeah.
was what?
Like it's never gone away, all decade. Like it's been
Eh,
relevant.
and it was 09, wasn't it?
In early access or something, probably. Like it released in 2011 as well.
Gotcha.
The week after Skyrim.
Yeah.
You know,
But yeah, it had been out before that.
we just missed one that like huge by storm. Undertale was an amazing
Oh, yeah.
game. So much so that the dude is
Yeah.
now working in like on projects with other big name game developers just from that single game he made. That's
Yeah.
another indie game example of just blowing things.
And jumping back over to AAA titles, just to say again, a decade is huge. We mentioned Skyrim, but Borderlands 2,
Mhm.
that was within this decade. Borderlands 2 and BioShock Infinite both made my top 10.
Yeah.
And
Those are both great games.
they
And then
were-
you've got games like The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt,
well,
which
when did Witcher the first one come out? Was that not this decade as
It's
well?
like 2009-ish, I think.
I think it was 2009ish. Witcher 3 though was just above and beyond.
Yeah, the scope of the scope from 2 to 3 is just massive.
Yeah.
Okay, the first one was 07, but
Yeah,
I knew they were fairly old.
No one really played the first one.
You know what? It was
The
really
second
funny.
one made it a thing, and then the third one like cemented it to the fact that now we have like a show.
and the
on
second
Netflix.
one was 2011. So there was 4 years between 1 and 2.
Yeah, I never
There's-
played the first one, but I love 2 more than 3 because 3 like is too big for me. But
Well, there you go. There's also a game I personally want to give because it's just I love this game, but it's called Inside. It's made from
Yes.
yes, same people who made Limbo. But Inside is oh man, that's a
That's a rough game, but a fun
it's an
game.
amazing game. It's made by Playdead.
I don't think I've ever heard of that game.
It is the game's so the way the game plays is that there is no talking, there is no
Oh wait,
it's a platformer and form, but the game is immensely the whole story of everything that you take from is told only through what you see going on in the world.
interesting.
Of what little you do see of it.
Hmm.
And it leaves a lot more questions than it always leaves more questions than it does answers.
It very much is a spiritual successor to Limbo.
Yeah, that's what it
I-
says
I
on
would
its Wikipedia page.
I would say it's better than Limbo.
Oh,
In
it
fact,
is. No,
it's
it's better. than
hands
Limbo.
down is better. Yeah, it won
Oh, I
a
think
number.
I've seen this. I've seen a little bit of it actually. Yeah. Is Final Fantasy 14 just your game of the decade meta? Is anything better than that in your eyes?
That's a really hard one. Final Fantasy 14 is in a very weird position. If only, I mean, I don't want to ramble, but here I go. It's one thing I'm really good at.
I was born a rambling man.
It's really hard to say because like Final Fantasy 14 has the benefit of MMOs is that they constantly update the same game.
Sure. I mean, I mean that's just gaming nowadays in general. Even like Minecraft, Fortnite. I mean, yeah.
Yes, it is. It's the thing, but I think the problem with the MMO is that like the MMO is such a huge game that every expansion in and of itself should be technically its own game. Where like Fortnite doesn't really do that concept, and Minecraft doesn't really technically do that concept. It's just always adding on new things that are there, but in like smaller packages. It's not like by themselves they would never be a playable game. Sometimes they're just literally like we've added in 5 new items.
Sure.
That would never run. But the expansion themselves, they for these kind of games, they are supposed to be their own game. They're technically just hugely expansion to what was already there. Although generally never as big as the original comes out for obvious reasons. That's hard, man. That is really hard, but it is.
I mean, it's probably the game you've played the most, right?
It is absolutely the game I've played the most. But that again, that's also the MMO
right?
design
But
too.
still,
they are kind of like time sinks a bit, and I'm not a big
I mean,
fan
yeah,
of time
all of
sinks.
the games on my top list, I think, have over 100 hours easy.
Yeah.
Like Dark Souls is probably close to 1,000 hours, honestly. I wouldn't be surprised.
Mauser played it like 15 times.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's
more than that. I've played it a lot. Because I would start like speed running it and doing all sorts of challenges and stuff. But anyway,
for a game, I would have to say for a game that had, I think I probably will have to put it at the top. If nothing
plus
for the fact
the journey of it came out in 2010 as just 15 or 14 or whatever, and then it became Realm Reborn.
The story of Final Fantasy 14 is
also
itself
just amazing.
Is just phenomenal. It's
there.
It really is its own beast. I would probably have to put it up there just because it's not only what I consider to be one of the best Final Fantasies I've played.
It almost just shouldn't exist, right?
Yeah, it really shouldn't. By all technical means, that's a game that any sane and rational company
would have just dropped it.
Understands its backers and understands a failed project when they look at it would have been like, just cut it loose and let it die. Just unplug the machine, so to speak. But here's one guy who's like, give me the game. We're going to make this game good. We're going to tell the players we can do it right. We can do it. Just give us a shot. And they did. Nice. And that's fucking amazing. You can't, that's the story of like the hero losing and then eventually beating the enemy. That's a phenomenal thing. It truly is
the underdog.
Yes, it's special, even in gaming, because that's just not something that happens.
Or especially
it's not. I'm not going to nominate 14. I'm going to nominate the story of 14.
How very meta of you.
That's the best game of this decade.
So actually, related but not, there in the decade there actually was a new genre of game that came out that I myself have enjoyed a lot of, and I don't know how much y'all.
Yes, the Soulsborne genre.
Yeah, that's true.
My personal favorite.
I mean, that one happened too, but I was trying to say one I don't know that y'all did a lot of. And I don't know the technical name for it, but I know the loving nickname that's been given to it is the walking simulator.
Oh yeah.
The What Remains of Edith Finch, Firewatch.
Firewatch is so good.
So good. That game is so good.
Everyone's gone to the rapture. Like, I love these games.
That might be my least favorite genre.
I get so involved.
I mean, it's the Stanley Parable.
Yeah. The whole purpose of them is to immerse yourself in a story.
Yep. And the first one they're
immersive sims without all the video game stuff.
Yeah. And the first one I played was Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, and I played it on the PS4, and it was like the free game of the month. Like, I don't know that I ever would have picked up any of them on my own.
Right.
Like, there's nothing that draws you to them. And then you play your first one, and you're just like, I want more. Like, as you play, you start to discover these things, and you go through it the game a second time, because you're like, I have questions. This wasn't answered. Did I miss something? And you find these like random pockets in the game where, I totally missed this information, and just, I don't know, like it's just
a lot of environmental storytelling.
Yeah, it's environmental storytelling, and it's storytelling at its finest when it does.
Right, because it's just something you can. It's really something that only exists in video games.
Yeah, you can't do it.
You can get it in other visual mediums, but not to the degree, because the visuals have to keep moving, right? Like a movie is set to an hour and a half, and has an entire story it's telling anyway.
How much do you care? Because if you only want the main thread, you can do that. And if you want to try to find out as much as you can. You're like looking at every tiny thing in this random village in England, and I don't know.
Lore runs. It's a lore run essentially. You are running to get every little bit of lore that's possible.
Yeah, and you can easily even if the game is only 5 hours. Like again, I think everybody's gone to the Rapture is like maybe 4, maybe 5 hours long.
Right.
But I think I've sunk close to 40 hours into the game, just making sure I went everywhere to try to find every piece of information I could because I wanted to know more. This story was so good, even the parts that made me really sad, I really wanted to learn more to, which is not something I do when it comes to gaming. Like, if something makes me sad, I want to fast forward as much as I can through it. But just that style of game I'm such a sucker for. And I recently played through What Remains of Edith Finch, which that one was hard but so good as well.
Yeah.
Anything else on your list?
That we didn't touch?
Yeah.
I have 2 series that really stuck out to me. The first was the Assassin's Creed series.
Oh yeah, that was big.
Yeah, I think one was 07 or 08, so the vast majority of the series was in this decade. Yeah. But I actually built my PC that I've done a lot of gaming on to play Black Flag, and Black Flag was the first game I played on it because of that reason.
Yeah.
And so it I don't know, like the Assassin's Creed
Black
game
Flag was interesting because that's where they really started to diverge from the same thing every year or whatever.
And they kind of went back a little bit in Syndicate and Unity. Oh god, I hated Unity.
And then they turned it into an RPG, and it's great.
Yeah, like Origin. I'm currently playing through Odyssey right now.
Stop resisting the RPG.
Oh man, like I don't know, like.
Yakuza's gonna be great. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Well, and when the game first came out, it was great. Like right now, you could go back to Assassin's Creed 1 and probably enjoy the game. 2, I admittedly haven't done a crazy amount of. Ezio is one of my less favorite assassins, to the chagrin of most of the fan base. But just everything else, I don't know, like when it came out, it was great. Probably doesn't hold its own, like it's not future proof, but at the time I loved it. Like I played most of the series and I loved everything but Unity. And it just, I don't know, it just stuck with me, right? Like there's a lot of decisions I made to play the game consistently.
What was the other series?
Well, sorry, real fast. The other thing about the story just is that I love fantasy and I love sci-fi.
Yeah,
and these have done a great job of meshing the two without it just being bleh. It's not just regurgitating all of the old tropes. Anyway, so the other series is a game series that they are slowly remaking in English, and I am loving each release, and that's the Yakuza games.
Yes.
Like that's only in the last 2 or 3 years that
I mean, they're not. They're remastering them. They've been out in English.
Yeah, remastering.
Yeah, they're just remastering them lately.
Yeah, that's the word to use, admittedly. I first played 0, and then I played 6, which is the most recent game, and then I went back and played the remake of 1. So I kind of went everywhere. But those games, like, just the stories to them
are a trip.
Oh man, they are a trip.
The entire game is just so weird. How it's just like it's an action game based around Yakuza with like a crap ton of mini games.
My favorite description of it, like I love the fighting style, but there's a guy I know who isn't crazy on it and is like, the fighting scenes just kind of get in the way of my mini games.
Mm-hmm.
Mal. Excuse me.
You got your mini games in my fighting game.
But honestly,
you've got your fighting game in my mini game.
It's like FF7.
And, like you say that jokingly, but it's kind of true. Yeah. Like
the best like description of why it is what it is I heard, or the funny, I don't know, is just like the reason it is like that is just because there's like these Japanese businessmen who aren't like, their wives let them play like one game every like 6 months or something, so they get the Yakuza game, and it's like 50 games in one.
I haven't heard that bit.
Yeah, it's just,
well, but I mean, I don't know,
there's just so much going on in them.
There really is, and the stories are great. And if you just play through the Yakuza storyline, it's a great Yakuza story. Just I love the stories. But then the mini games are a nice mix of variety, fun, and nostalgia, because in some of them you're playing 1980s, 1990s arcade games in the game, literally you're visiting in an arcade to play the arcade game. But because of the way they present it, it's still fun, right? It's not just a whole game about that game, so you're enjoying the, I don't know, 5 to 30 minutes, however long you decide to stay there. You're enjoying it. And that's the thing, right? You get to decide how long you stick to these things. And it just, I don't know. And I think the core of it is, as human beings, we have a multitude of interests. Me specifically, having both ADD and ADHD, and when both of them were fused together, both of them, the idea that you have this Yakuza character who has this grand story of things happening to him, but he has all of these other mini things that really make no sense in the grand story of his life that you play through. It made it feel, despite it being more surreal, it was also at the same time more real, right? You were so dialed into a game while you're playing it, but it doesn't really define who you are once you turn the console off, right? I don't know, in its randomness, I feel like it captures that aspect of the gamer, and I really enjoy that. That's a lot more philosophical than this series necessarily deserves, but it's true.
Right.
All right. Anything else?
I think we've talked about video games long enough.
We spent almost an hour and a half on video games.
Oh, really?
Do we have more topics?
It's an hour and 15.
I mean, I don't think we'll spend as much.
I don't know. We won't.
I don't have anything else to
I
talk
haven't
about.
done much else this year but video games, right?
I have a couple things on tabletop gaming. That's about it.
Oh yeah.
Oh god.
I don't. What? Let's move into that then.
Cthulhu Wars is cool. All right.
Yeah. That's on my honorable mention list. Cthulhu Wars.
That's it.
You say Cthulhu Wars. Actually, I think my tabletop game, both of the year and of the decade, really is Arkham Horror, the living card game from Fantasy Flight Games. And we recently I don't know if we actually posted the video of us playing it or if it's just on Meta Stream, but we recently streamed us playing one of the scenarios in it, and I love the hell out of that game so much. And I actually talked about it in one of the topics earlier, just that you get to build your decks and everybody together cooperatively fights a story, or works through a story, I guess. And I don't know, it handles a lot of things really well. It does have some polishing, it's pioneering into a lot of territory that I hope to see more games do. And it's Lovecraftian, but not in the... it does all of the nice things about Lovecraftian genre without diving into the bad stuff. And I just enjoy that.
I don't have anything. I don't play enough to really have anything in this.
You just say Arkham Horror.
Yeah.
You played that for the first time this year, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I think the only other game I'd probably say for board games might be...
What's so good about Cthulhu Wars, Meta?
I'm not done with my next sentence here. You hold your ass right there.
But I want to hear about Cthulhu Wars.
Oh, you don't like it very much, do you, Meta?
No, I don't. I think it's trash. You got me. No, Smash Up. I would say that's actually a pretty good game.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. Yeah. That's one game I keep going back and playing. It's really fun.
I don't know what that is.
It's a game where you take two different themed decks and smash them up together to get a 40-card deck of two themes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
They have a bunch of like the half decks are like cowboys and dinosaurs and robots and ninjas and pirates, and then you get two of them put them together, and you
God,
have
man, we've had like 2 topics on it already.
I think
You got to remember.
Ninja dinosaurs.
I don't remember what I did last Saturday. I'm not gonna remember all these topics.
I know.
Yeah, it's if I wasn't talking to you guys at least every other day, I'd forget about who you were. So.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Actually, one of the most fun games I actually did play was Boss Monster this year.
Boss
yeah.
Monsters is fun. It's a very fun little game.
I would play that a lot more.
Especially if you just grew up playing NES games and stuff. There's so many cool
Oh
references.
yeah, all the references are in there. So.
And it's nice because it's a good fast game, so you can play a lot of it.
Yeah, or you play in between your longer games or something.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like a
Are
good
you guys-
like
or something.
Are you sure it's fast? Because the games I've played have taken a while.
like 15 or 20
Really?
minutes.
Oh yeah,
typically
dude.
for
When we almost every game I've played has everybody having their dungeon fully built. Like there is never a game where it's not like somebody who's without a dungeon built.
Well, I mean, everybody builds their dungeon, but I don't know. Like we still burn through, I guess, everybody's turns. I guess our groups usually are thinking.
We've only played pretty. I mean, I don't know what size you're playing with meta, but ours are like 3 or 4. I think.
More
Ours are
characters
like
than
3
the
or 4.
game.
Yeah.
More characters than the game is designed for.
It's been 4 every time I've played it.
Oh.
Speaking of fast games, actually, one that I love it was actually one of the first board games we got as a married couple, my wife and I, was Sura, the game of life, which you start off, everybody places, there's, I think it's 5 by 5? Anyway, the board is some...
Yeah, it's a game that kind of already has existed, but I don't know what you would call it necessarily.
Yeah, so everybody, like, every square has 2 notches on it around the border, and everybody starts at one of the notches, and on your turn, you actually get these tiles that have paths between the 2. So if you were to think of a square and put 2 notches evenly distributed on all 4 sides, so there's a total of 8 notches, right? Each tile will connect all of those notches to each other in some various pattern wise, and so you would place it before your meeple character, figure, whatever you want to say, and you follow your path. And the point is, if you ever place a tile down that forces somebody to go off the board, they're out. And if you place it so 2 people collide, both of the people that collide are out.
Basically, you're trying to make the longest path without crashing.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you want to be the last person standing.
Right.
And it, like, the longest I've ever had this game go was maybe 20 minutes. Like,
it's very quick.
It's a very fast play.
Another one of those, like, go play it in between, like, cool down or something.
Or if, like, you're waiting on people to come or, something like that. It's a great, like middle of the night game type deal.
Cthulhu Wars is on Mon for sure.
I was gonna say,
has really good minis. It's fun to play. I like how different all the factions feel.
Maybe we could play that on tabletop.
Yeah, we should. It's really fun. I kind of want to see some of the expansions.
Yeah. The expansions are great.
Yeah,
they're all great. It's all great. I love the Wars. I think it's great. It's probably one of the few games I've also replayed.
Would you say it's great?
I would say it's okay.
It's also very expensive.
It is unfortunately disgustingly expensive.
That is my major thing about it. I think like last time I checked, I could find it for like.
I can't justify spending money on figure games anymore. Like without people, like multiple people to play them with. Really.
Yeah, I'd say. Barring that the price, it doesn't technically define how good the game is.
Yeah.
I would say if you remove that, it's an absolutely phenomenal game. I recommend it to almost everybody. The asymmetry and yet symmetrical, the symmetry style of gameplay, but the asymmetrical factions are a wonderful breath of fresh air. You kind of have to decide. Not only do you have to decide how you're going to play the game, depending on how many people are playing, but what factions they're playing. No game is truly going to be the same, whereas in like Risk, it kind of is the same game every time.
Right.
Risk really is the most close corollary to it as well, I think.
Yeah. There's probably another game that's probably better, but I don't know. I would say the only game I can think that where Risk really takes off is Risk 2010 AD.
Or Risk Legacy.
Risk Legacy is probably a little bit different, but I never really played that one. But I do know because you like missions and whatnot, like actual.
Well, you play through like an entire story, but then at the end you have a board. Like everyone's board will be different because of the decisions you made during the story, but that you can keep replaying on.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
It's Risk with extra stuff. So, right. I think it might even be based on 2020.
It might be, but yeah. If you can, spend for it, because the Wars is absolutely a game that's worth your time. Plus,
the minis are extremely good.
The minis are fantastic, and you can use them in any other
D&D. Yeah, I was like, these are perfect for Dungeons and Dragons.
They were literally designed in mind to work on the 12mm scale.
Yeah, I was like, oh, look at these little cultists. You can just use them as like evil clerics in Dungeons and Dragons.
So,
absolutely can use them.
Or warlocks.
That's a good segue into a topic I'm going to hold off on going into.
Wait, hold on a second.
Because I wanted to make a comment, just that in general, board games in this decade really exploded. Like, there are so many good and new games that came out in this decade. That
let's see. When did Settlers of Catan come out?
It's been out a while.
Yeah.
Oh wow,
it's been way close older than I thought
it was. No, it came out in 1995.
I was gonna say Catan was a while, but it was like
it didn't get popular until.
It was after we were out of high school and we graduated in 2007. So
right.
It
because that's the game everyone started playing as an entry into the good board games that aren't like Monopoly and Clue.
Right.
Yeah, that sort of just started popping up everywhere, and then you got stuff like Ticket to Ride and a bunch of other good board games. But yeah.
Yep. But then part of tabletop gaming and the actual segue I was going to make was RPGs, which also had a resurgence probably in the last 5 years.
I mean, you got stuff like Critical Role, really
exactly.
boosted, 5th edition, and
then 5th edition itself was a very open,
well received
system.
Yeah. Yep. And there were so many games that came out, and I'm not gonna pretend to try to.
Yeah. My disappointment of the decade, the new L5R LCG.
Oh yeah.
I don't mind it.
The LCG?
Yeah.
Oh, the LCG, not the RPG.
No. Obs definitely came
the new RPG.
Much more around on the RPG.
Yeah, so it's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
No, with RPGs though, like if you've never listened to the show and heard me talking about RPGs, Fate. I love the frickin' hell out of Fate games. And I've had so much fun with the different variations. Tianxia, Mecha vs. Kaiju, Maho Shoujo, Wake Up, Go to School, Save the World, which may or may not be a game I'm working on.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, but just in general, I think I've done so much gaming this decade. Just so much.
Yep.
As for this year, a few days ago, I played, I don't know how old the RPG is, I played the Aliens RPG.
Oh, yeah?
Randomly, one of my friends bought it because he loves Aliens and Predator. It was actually not that bad.
Is it the kind of game where you just end up dying, or can you actually,
No, not necessarily. I mean, the monsters are extremely lethal, so there's a good chance.
Is it similar to Death Watch for,
I don't know because I haven't played that. I would, systematically, I would say it's similar to D6 Star Wars. If any of you have ever played that, you have stats and you have skills. You add them together. You roll that many D6s, and you just need a 6 to succeed. More 6s give you more information or a better success. There's a mechanic called panic in the game. Like, some of the aliens or monsters will trigger panic. It's almost like a kind of madness or fear mechanic. And some characters are better at resisting it, others aren't. You have like a table that you roll on, and you keep building points of panic. They'll add to your roll. and depending on what you roll on a d6, anytime a panic test would trigger, that'll happen, and things can happen like it spreads panic to other people. A lot of the classes will be based around like mitigating or helping control panic. Like there's like a scientist class who's like, I understand what we're dealing with here, so he can like help relieve panic from everybody because he explains what's going on and assuages the fear of the unknown kind of thing. It's pretty neat. I don't know how fun it would be to play a whole campaign of it. I played a guy whose whole squadron got murdered by a predator, so I wasn't even dealing with aliens. I was trying to hunt down a predator.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, it was a pretty funny session, but anyways, it devolved in basically to Alien versus Predator schlock. But it was fun. It was a pretty cool, fun game. I actually really liked the panic mechanic and how it played out, and it was super simple. Like the guy who ran it for us, my buddy got it. He's like, "Here, run this," and he just like read like an hour of it and was able to do it. So it's like a very easy to pick up and play game. It was pretty fun.
Good.
Some other board games. There's a game called Champions of Midgard that I played for the first time about a month ago and had a lot of fun with it. It's a meeple game, but is very similar to if you've ever played the Waterdeep board game. I can't remember the name of it. You basically like
Lords of Waterdeep.
Yes, you'll spend like your meeples on like getting resources. You play like a character who. The goal of the game is basically like to build up a whole bunch of victory points at the end of 6 turns. Whoever has the most wins, you get victory points by it's Norse mythology inspired. So you can send your meeples to go fight dark elves or giants or explore the seas, or you can make them get you more attack dice or food or other resources that you can spend on like cards that'll give you special abilities or runes and all this stuff. And you want to have the most VP at the end of a certain amount of rounds. And expansions will add more place because you'll have more players, so they'll add more places where you can send your people. You get different kind of resources and adds characters and stuff. Very easy, simple. Those are generally my favorite type of board games. It's like the meeple resource gathering, like send your guys out on quests type of board games, or the ones I enjoy. So that one's very fun. You can get different types of warriors, and they're represented by dice, and each dice has a different value and does different stuff. So that's pretty neat. But my favorite tabletop game that didn't come out this year, but I got into it this year. If I was ever going to play anything competitively again, tabletop wise, it would be the Song of Ice and Fire Adventures game, which I enjoy a lot. I kind of explained it before on the podcast, so I'm not really going to go into a whole bunch of detail. But it's based off Song of Ice and Fire or Game of Thrones. It's more well known. It's a squadron tray based.
It would be like Warhammer Fantasy.
Yeah, very similar to Warhammer Fantasy, but Game of Thrones themed. I mean, It's got everyone's favorite characters for the most part. You can play as. They have a lot of factions out now. It only launched with 2 at the beginning, and it's ever expanding. It's really fun, super simple and easy to play. I like the setting, so it's easy enough for me to get into. And it has a card game based system attached to it, which I also enjoy.
Oh, that's cool.
So, you have a deck of cards in a hand, and a lot of the strategy is trying to guess what cards your opponent has. There's a tactics board. You have non-combat units. It's almost like I would equate it to going after the rings in the new LCG. Where you have 5 different abilities that you're basically courtiers will try to claim, and they'll do stuff like draw you cards, make a unit, make a panic test, heal one of your units, get a free move. It's pretty cool.
That's an interesting way of doing things.
Yeah, so I like it a lot. It's a lot of fun. I play it quite often now. So, any other games tabletop wise you guys have? That was all I had.
No.
All right, you want to talk about anime, manga next? If y'all got any favorites?
I talked about the two anime I watched.
Anime was a mistake, right?
As topic.
Absolutely, degenerate all around.
I'll talk about Beastars because I haven't got to talk about it yet.
Right,
that's my favorite.
Obs is now a furry.
I'm now furry confirmed. Where's my wolf suit? Yeah, so Beastars is it like doesn't deconstruct. I'm not gonna say that. It subverts your expectations in a way that I appreciate for me, at least, because it starts off as a murder mystery, like slice of life kind of story that just happens to have anthropomorphic animal characters. They use that as like a lens to comment on like human society and psychology and like a lot of like the herbivore carnivore relations in it can be compared to race relations or gender relations and all this other stuff. Has a lot of interesting things to say about that aren't like ham-fisted or heavy-handed, in my opinion, at least from my read-through of it. And then it like halfway through, it starts turning into shonen battle stuff for like 5 chapters, and it's freaking awesome when it does it. It's like really good. And then it goes back to like slice of life stuff. So it could, I guess it could be jarring for some people with like the sudden shifts, and I've seen some people say that who've read everything that's available for the manga, but it does it really well. The characters are really good and fun, and like
I just don't like the character designs. I can't deal with them.
Yeah, like for the first 20 chapters or so too, like the art is not good in the manga. She does get better at drawing as it goes on. Maybe she got like assistants to help her, but and then the anime, which is still airing, is done by Studio Orange, who did what's the name? Hiseki no Kuni. I can't remember the American name. Land of Lustrous. So it's 3D CGI animation. It actually doesn't look that bad, in my opinion. I normally find it jarring, especially like Tets, and you guys will understand what I'm saying when mecha anime started going to 2D animation until we're in the mechs, and all of a sudden everything's 3D now. I don't really like that, honestly. I'd rather them just go all 2D or all 3D, but...
You know what? I actually kind of have to do agree with that. I really hate it when a show is going like part 3D, part 2D, because it gets really jarring. You just notice, because it's not well done 3D.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely prefer if everything just all anime stayed 2D, but I know that's not going to happen.
Yep.
One day.
I got some honorable mentions of Dororo, which I talked about on the podcast. There's no excuse for none of you to not watch that, in my opinion, because you're all fans of samurai stuff. It's really good.
Is it dubbed?
I don't know, actually. It came out at the beginning of the year, so maybe, but I don't think so. It's really good. It's basically like a Shadowlands L5R story. That's like the best way to say it without spoiling anything. It's also a classic manga that a lot of people think has been adapted very well and add some stuff because the manga is pretty short, if I remember correctly. Vinland Saga is really good as far as like shonen goes. It's like a dark fantasy Viking anime and manga. The manga's still running. I got nothing but good things to say about it either. It's like a revenge story at first, but the main character has to learn to like put that stuff behind him. It's got really good character arcs. It's the same studio that does Attack on Titan, so all the action is choreographed really nicely. Kimetsu no Yaiba is another good one. I haven't watched all of it yet, but what I did see I liked. The battle stuff and that is also really good. UFO Table does a good job with that stuff. It's really pretty. I'm sure you've seen GIFs of it if you keep track of anime at all.
The chick with the mouth gag has shown up a lot on like just
his sister stuff. I can't remember her name, but her and Inosuke are like the big meme characters right now. The boar guy.
I mean, I thought about reading it and then I didn't.
I actually don't like the manga art style that much.
Yeah, I think that's why I just didn't get into it.
Yeah, and
so I haven't watched anything basically this year except for like the 2 things on Netflix.
What about you guys, other than Mao? Have y'all seen anything?
And then the only thing I keep up to date and read for manga is My Hero Academia, which is still good.
I don't know. You guys kind of hit everything for me. Like, even if I do remember what I watched at the beginning of the Bloody Decade for anime,
Oh, wow, I'm not even
wait.
going. It's not even talking about decade. This is just year.
Yeah.
Okay, well, year, then it's super easy. It's what you guys already stated. There you go.
About you, Tess.
And then, Tets.
I think for me, I think this year I started Dragon Prince. If not this year, then it was.
Yeah, I think it came out this year.
Lame.
I mean, I've watched that,
season
but
2 and season 3 I think came out this year, but season 1 I think was last year. Between
I did not realize you were talking about
Dragon Prince
non-anime.
and the the retelling of the Voltron story, I think those are the two biggest anime that I watched this year.
It's not an anime.
What's not?
I know, it was
Dragon
just funny. It was just funny. We're not talking about non-anime.
Oh,
Close
man.
enough to anime, okay? It's
All right, we'll just transition to film. We'll incorporate them all. How about that? Film and
It's
TV.
not film
no
either.
question as to whether or not it could be an anime.
Well, what
it's
is it,
close
man?
enough to count, right? Otherwise, I say I didn't do any anime whatsoever and make my section boring.
That's no. Why would it matter though? You don't have to worry about making your section boring. I literally just said, yeah, whatever you guys just said, because that's what I watched. I mean, there's nothing for me to add
But I
on.
didn't
What they
watch
stated.
that though.
Then
Like,
say I didn't watch anything. Boom. Done.
okay, I totally started playing a couple L5R games that makes anime and RPG form. Is that good enough?
Sure, why not?
And you watched Dragon Maid too? I thought I'd seen you talking about that, but maybe I'm wrong.
Which was?
Dragon Maid?
Was that this year?
No, that was last year when we watched it.
Oh, okay.
So that's definitely last year.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
the first.
I didn't watch anything this year.
Yeah,
Yeah, I actually put my head in the ground.
Oh, that's not true. I watched Fruits Basket. That's right.
I was
I
gonna
watched
say.
the first season of Fruits Basket, and
I also watched some of Gundam Build Divers.
I haven't watched that yet.
We'll talk about that.
It was.
Did we already do a
It's
topic on the
it's,
section?
uh,
No.
It exists to sell
Build
Gunpla.
Fighters, not Gundam Build Divers, which is pretty much
They
the
go
same
underwater, man.
thing, but with a reset
Oh, well,
isekai
excuse me.
aspects.
Yeah, it's an isekai version of the fighting one.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
pretty much.
Which actually the first season was a reverse isekai, I guess, or I don't know. There was a character from another world in the first season of Build Fighters.
Yeah. So Build Fighters had 2 seasons, and then Build Divers, I think it's the first one. I don't know if it was technically this year, but the second one definitely was Re-Rise. But it essentially is people build Gundam models, and then they are able to register it with this computer, and the computer scans it in and says, hey, you built it this well, here is your digital mech that you built, and then it takes into account your ability to actually build models. And then from there on, it's an MMO, but the machine you use is the machine you scan in. And it's pretty much these kids trying to help protect their MMO that they really love from being hacked by hackers. That's pretty much Build Divers, or at least the first 2 seasons. So
There you go. You did have something, see?
Oh.
you should.
Right.
Oh yeah, Kaguya-sama Love is War had an anime that came out this year.
Yeah, that was
I
very
love the
popular.
manga.
I can see that being
Manga's
on a lot of
great.
people. I couldn't get through the art style,
Yeah.
but
I tried to get Obs to read it. There's a big Persona 5 reference that I just love, and it's one of my favorite manga that I sort of I usually read it, catch up, and is usually how I read that one. But yeah.
Yeah, I can name a few more manga, but that was the stuff that stood out to me more than anything.
Oh, you like Mob Psycho a lot, right?
Yeah, that was really good. The second season of that, it was either the end of last year or the beginning of this one, but that was really good. I'm super looking forward to the third season of that, which I think is coming soon. Phil, what about movies? That's the last thing we got on the dock. You got any movies you want to spout off real quick, Tets, before you got to bounce?
I did not see a single movie in theaters.
I didn't see a lot of them.
In fact,
I have a feeling I know what Mal's will be, though.
I don't think I actually really watched movies at home either. This year has been... I mean, to be fair, we've had a newborn, right? Like,
Yeah.
It's really hard to go see movies with her. And even if we watch it at home, like, most of the time we watch shows just because it's... I don't know. It feels like it's easier to pause shows.
That fits in, too. If you got any TV shows or anything as well you want to talk about.
I mean, Dragon Prince.
Yeah, Dragon Prince.
There you
Dragon
go.
Prince is great.
Sorry, no, actually, my wife discovered a show and she watched through it and loved it so much. I watched through it with her and she's dived full bore into the fandom, which means I kind of have as well. And that's Miraculous Ladybug in Cat Noir.
I don't know what that is.
Really?
It's a kids show.
It's a
basically.
kid's show, but it's more adult than it lets
Is it a
on,
kid
so-
show like Adventure Time's a kid show?
No, it's so essentially it's done by 3 studios. One is in France, one is in America, and one is in China. And the main guy who writes it he loved Spider-Man as a kid, and he loved Spider-Man growing up, so he wanted to write his own Spider-Man story. So he wrote this story about superheroes in Paris, France, and the main character, Ladybug, is the Spider-Man corollary. And you have all of these superheroes that gain their powers based off of these pieces of jewelry that have the Kwame attached to them. And there's a whole thing. Yeah, Mal just shared a picture of it in the chat. And the main character is Ladybug, and her not quite it's more her partner than sidekick is Cat Noir. And they both represent the powers of creation and destruction, respectively. And they're just them. Pretty much, it's monster of the or villain of the week. Kids show, but there's a long overarching story that's going on, because again it's simultaneously geared towards small children and people in their 20s to 30s who also kind of grew up with the 90s Spider-Man cartoon.
Gotcha.
It's pretty enjoyable if you watch it knowing that it's a kid show, of course. But my wife loves it, and I've come to grown to really like it as well, to be honest. And that's probably the big TV series we watched this year.
All right, what about you guys?
Oh, films. Ooh. Oh boy, this is that's a lot of way to put on my head there. Honestly, the only movie I can remember going and seeing is Wreck-It Ralph 2.
That was not what I was expecting.
Was that even this year? I don't know. I don't remember.
No.
That was not what I was expecting. It's fine if you watch it this way.
Trying to think of films. I'm like, oh boy, not a film watcher.
Or TV, whatever, same thing.
Oh, TV.
Film and
easy.
TV are the same. They're the same ring in our 5 rings.
Was Castlevania this year?
Castlevania. Yeah, Castlevania.
It was the
That's
end of
an anime.
last year, I think. But
Oh,
whatever.
was it the end of last year?
I think so. I think it was like November last year.
Also,
I remembered watching it around the holidays.
I'm gonna give Castlevania the shot.
My roommate just actually watched through it and really enjoyed it.
It's
I still
really
have to
good.
Watch it.
Let's see here. First episode dated in 2017, but what we really care about is
Wreck-It
season
Ralph
2.
Breaks the Internet was last year.
Damn it!
If you saw it in theaters, then yeah, you didn't see it this year.
Yeah, I definitely.
Now talk about Avengers. Well,
Oh,
that
it
is
was last year. Son of a nutcracker. No,
I was
I'm
gonna
gonna
say-
go with Mandalorian. Mandalorian is it?
all right. What's
I have
cool
yet
about
to watch
Mandalorian?
it.
Well,
Meta.
it all started when it actually was a good
Aside
Star
from
Wars.
Baby Yoda, which is the reason I
it's-
don't
it's-
want to watch it.
It's actually a good Star Wars.
The
That's probably why I enjoy
new
it.
one is not. I saw it the other day, sadly.
I can't say anything on it. I've heard different thoughts from different people, but I will say that from my perspective, I was unimpressed with the Force Awakens. Left a very neutral taste in my mouth, and The Last Jedi went very negative.
We had
And
the same experience.
The Mandalorian was super positive.
I love the first episode of Mandalorian.
It's great.
Feels like a
Mandalorian-
Western.
Yeah, it's very much. Yeah, it's very much a Western in that regard, but it's
I'm knocking
good.
Stuff over.
It's just good. The characters stand out. Everything about it just drips with a nice life, and yet at the same time, it's really weird because it feels also super detached from Star Wars in and of itself. Like it wants to be a part of Star Wars, but not part of Star Wars.
That's a good thing. In my
I guess
opinion.
in this day,
They need to start telling stories that aren't like there's a last Jedi who has to save everything.
I think, as I said to Lily the other night, actually, I said the problem with Star Wars is that the story kind of ended with Episode 6. Like 1, 2, and 3 came out, and they were good because they at least explained like how you got to 4, 5, and 6. They weren't bad, but
I mean, at the time of release, they were not well
so
received.
no, they're not well
No.
received at all at the time of release.
I
Now,
think
people
I
look
think
back
they
and
are
go,
better than the new trilogy, though, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, and it's not as bad as that.
They at least did something different. The new movies are very much
I
like
think
play it
they
safe.
should have just jumped like 100 years.
Yes,
the new ones,
I agree.
but that goes exactly to what I said. Though, it's like there was no need for a sequel to continue that storyline. There just wasn't.
Besides, there were some books that already did it better than any movie was going to.
That's
the Thrawn books. The Thrawn books are great.
Books have a lot of hit and miss stuff.
Even as one of the writers mentioned when they were shooting like different ideas for Star Wars themselves, for like actual Star Wars, even stated themselves that there is creating either a clone Palpatine or whatever they did in the comics, just completely undermines, or at least heavily undermines, Vader's change and the story. And
do I have news for you?
Yeah, I know. I didn't even need to see the movie to know. I have enough.
He is the best. He is the best part of the new movie.
I'm not
because he's great
in every movie. He's
the
great
actor
in
is so
every
good.
movie. He's great in every.
He's so cheesy.
It's great.
Yeah, he's awesome. He loves being evil so much.
That's what makes him so fun to watch. He's so stereotypically evil. You can't help but enjoy him.
Yeah,
he wants to be evil. This attack of my life has left me scarred and deformed.
Yes. Help me, Anakin! He's killing me! Unlimited power! Like, okay, dang. 3 seconds ago, you were...
Oh, God. I know, it's ham to the best point. But yeah, I don't know. I think the story was done. They should have done something else. There was no need for a sequel to those characters.
Well, the Mandalorians are cool too. The
Mandalorian is doing exactly.
It's detached enough.
It's detached enough. It's something different. It's its own story.
Exactly.
It's doing something in the world.
They got too afraid to like just let the previous stuff go.
Yeah. The what they're hinting at doing next is some Old Republic stuff. Because they just confirmed that Revan is indeed canon. So if you know anything about Old Republic, Star Wars era stuff, and Mandalorian's out, my theory is they're going to be doing Mandalorian War era stories.
I have mixed feelings on making Revan canon.
I do too, because I think they'll mess it up.
They really kind of ruined Revan in later, like the book and then the MMO stuff.
Revan is a very mixed character, Darth Revan.
Yeah. I'll say... Oh, go ahead, Bal. Sorry.
I was going to say, I didn't actually see a ton of movies. They're like... The Marvel movies are all great. I love them. I'll always love them. I'll see them all. I'll probably watch all the TV shows, too. That are the new ones coming out. Because those actually are going to be canon. Non-Marvel stuff? John Wick 3... Probably my favorite.
I haven't seen it yet.
I will watch. That's another series. I will watch them all. He's like, I will. He said he will keep doing them for as long as they want to keep making. And I'm like, keep watching them as long as you keep making them.
Yeah.
Like it's not one is still the best, right? It's like they're never going to recapture that lightning in a bottle type thing. But that happens a lot in sequels. And but yeah. Also, Booksmart, I loved. It's a stupid teen comedy. I love teen comedy. It's sort of like the big comparison is Superbad, but with two women.
Gotcha. Who's in it?
Don't know.
Are they relatively unknown actresses?
One was. Have you seen Last Man Standing? Tim Allen's show.
No, I haven't.
One of his daughters is in it, and then the other one I don't think I've ever seen anything she was in. Olivia Wilde.
Lily just sent a message. Breaking news. Yo, Meta, if your top movie of 29 isn't Godzilla, King of the Monsters, we're getting a divorce.
So my new movie for 2019 is... I didn't
just
forget.
Tell her it sucks right now, Meta. Do it.
Are you ready? Ready? I want to say I'm gonna make eye contact there to let her know that it fucking sucked.
Oh, shots fired.
She didn't even listen. She didn't even hear it.
Yeah, she doesn't care.
I heard it. Heard you cover it. So.
No. I said, Lily. I said, Godzilla, King of Monsters. sucks.
I'm gonna go with Midsommar as my favorite movie of the year, and that's like a very lukewarm.
Excuse me?
Yeah, Midsommar.
Bless you? I don't know. What?
Midsommar. It's Ari Aster who did Hereditary. If you've seen that movie.
Oh yeah.
It's very much the same vein, which is kind of where it left me feeling a bit disappointed. It was still good, but just not as good as that movie.
Right.
It also deals with like a weird cult. But has really good cinematography and directing and stuff. So he's like a pretty good up and coming director. I like horror movies, so there you go too. TV, I've watched half of The Witcher now, and it is very good. I'm happy to report, or at least I enjoy it. Henry Cavill does a really good job playing Geralt.
Yeah, I was very surprised just from the trailers. I haven't had the time to watch it yet. It's probably what I'll do Saturday or something.
It's a role that he wanted to play. Very dark fantasy. Very much Monster of the Week stuff. I like the monster.
To be the Game of Thrones.
Yeah, it's not at all like that. It doesn't have to be. I'm glad it's different. I like the episodic feel of it. It fits. It fits the kind of Witcher thing, which is very quest based.
I believe it covers like the 2 short stories from before even the first book.
Yeah, it's a lot of like here's how they Yennefer and Ciri, how they like. Yeah, it's a lot of their backstory stuff.
I'm curious to see how much people will how well it'll end up being received overall, because I believe Ciri's a much bigger part of the pre-video game story stuff.
Yeah.
Like, she's basically the main character.
Mm-hmm. It does focus heavily on her. But Henry Cavill does such a good as Geralt. You can tell that he really enjoys playing the role. The fights are really good. And the monsters look cool. And it's got some good horror elements in it, too. Especially, like, the 3rd episode is very much like a horror story kind of thing. So I've very much enjoyed what the half of The Witcher I've seen. I watched it with that episode yesterday with Mom at Christmas, and she was so confused, had no clue what was going on. I was like, "It's just a horror story. Just watch the horror stuff. Don't worry about the names of the people and the kingdoms.
Just watch, Mom. Just watch it."
Yeah. But she seemed to like. She was even like, "I want to go back and watch the other episodes." So
she's hooked.
Detective Pikachu ended up being way better than I.
A lot of people said that. Yeah.
It was fun. I liked it a lot. My favorite shows of the year, I guess, Dragon Prince and She-Ra, both on Netflix. I love them a lot. Me and my roommate watch them and then end up talking a lot about them. Yeah.
Wow.
Anything else for you, Matt?
No, dude, I'm done.
All right.
Yep.
End of
5,000.
What are we? Real quick, like the last 5 minutes here. What are we looking forward to the most in 2020? Just in general. Movies, games.
Cyberpunk?
Yeah, I'll go with that. Cyberpunk.
Probably just Cyberpunk. There's probably a JRPG that I'm just not thinking of right now. I mean...
But now, what about Elden Ring?
I don't know anything about it yet.
No one does. When are we going to learn something? Ghost of Tsushima?
You guys are up really a lot higher than I am on FF7 Remake.
Yeah. The new Yakuza game?
Yeah, I mean, I still have 5 other Yakuza games to play before.
Sakura Wars?
I heard, I mean, I saw
Sakura
it was just
Wars?
kind of, it's just fine.
But it's the most obscure game of all time, in my opinion.
Right. Anywho.
There's a new Dune movie coming out, too.
I've never done any... I don't know anything about Dune.
What about Bill and Ted 3?
Spice.
Bill and Ted 3, Mal.
I mean, that'll be
Bill
cool.
and Ted's
Keanu's just a cool guy anyway.
The last season of Attack on Titan is airing next year as well.
I don't.
That's huge, Mal. That's huge. Do you not understand how huge it is?
The big reveal, and then I was like, "Good, I know the secret. I can stop reading this."
What was the big reveal?
They're on an island.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It actually gets way better after that. Everything up to that, I think, is just okay. Then after that, it becomes a political thriller. Very much enjoy it.
Building up to that moment, it was definitely political.
Yeah. But yeah.
Anyway.
So yeah, I'm excited for it. The manga as of late has been really good.
I think we're gonna get a lot of it.
Next year is gonna be stacked for games.
It's gonna be. There's so much. Like, Ghost looks good. Tsushima, like
I compare it to 2017.
16?
As far as the year Persona came out.
16.
All right, yeah, that was like a very stacked year. That was the year Horizon came out and a couple others too, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I thought it was 17.
Persona 5 may have come out the end of 16. Yeah, Horizon was
in America. I think it came out
17.
the year after. Yeah.
That might have been it. That's probably what I'm thinking. Or then
it came out like 4 years later in America than Japan.
As it does.
Yeah.
As it is wont to do.
Oh yeah, March. Nope, that's the wrong one. April 2017. So yeah, it'll be like 2017. All right.
So yeah, lots of stuff to look forward to, and it's been a pretty good year in and of itself. As you can tell, we had a lot of video games we played and differently. Like all of us had different stuff we played.
It was just a lot.
Yeah. Why can't I have more time? I'm like replaying Dark Souls right now with my roommate. So I was like, I could get Code Vein, and my PlayStation's been having that error code. We can't connect the PSN because of like an IP address thing. Apparently, a lot of people were getting those like a month ago, and I hadn't played my PlayStation since after I beat Trails of Cold Steel 4. So apparently, my PlayStation has that. You have to like reset the IP on your router to get it to work, and I just have been lazy and haven't done it yet. So I was like, I'll just play Dark Souls on Steam instead.
Nice
for now, because Code Vein it's like $35 right now. I think I'm still kind of like I'd still like to pay like $25 for it. Yeah, that's where I'm at. So and it'll like go on sale eventually. So I'll probably just end up waiting, or I don't know. Maybe I'll beat Dark Souls and then go to it. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But all right, that's it for us. I'm not even gonna do an outro. I don't want to do it. You know it. You know all the stuff.
I know. I got it. I got something for an outro.
Meta, do it.
I got it. No. I'm not gonna do the outro. I just want to leave everybody here with a word of advice, and I think something that we should all think about deeply with the the end of the year coming, and that is that every FPS is technically a point and click adventure game.